There's what we say, and then there's what we don't. And often it's the unspoken that holds the most power. Welcome to the Unspoken Edge, a space where hidden dynamics, quiet tensions, and unacknowledged truths are named, held, and turned into grounded action. I'm Rachel Keck, coach, facilitator, and founder of Mosaic Collaborative. I work with visionary leaders who want growth that's sustainable, relational, and real. Here, we explore what's beneath the surface, the energy under leadership, the patterns, resistance, and the truth shaping how we lead and live. In every episode, we'll name what's missing, hold what's tense, and follow the thread to what's real. Because clarity creates traction, and legacy, it's not just what you leave behind, it's how you lead today. Let's begin. Hi, everyone. Today we get to have a conversation with Julie Cordel. Julie and I met on a dance floor. That's right. We were dancing our booties off. And anyways, we become friends and we've had many a talk about businesses, small businesses in particular. And she's in a new role in an association. And I really wanted an opportunity to talk to her and highlight things that are happening, leadership in a small business, particularly in trades spaces. So Julie, will you share who you are, what you do, whatever you want people to know?
I'm Julie Cordel, and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for the International Surface Fabricators Association, in short, ISFA, ISFA. I started with ISFA in September. I've just been there, 5-6 months now? It's gone by fast. I oversee all of our membership and sponsorship and oversee our marketing department, which is all inclusive of, we have a magazine, we have social media, newsletters that go out. So kind of directing and overseeing all of that for the association. We support fabricators within the countertop and surface fabrication industry. So when you think of the big stone slabs of quartz or marble or granite, whatever, all the different surfaces, we support the companies that fabricate and they actually cut the projects out into countertops or into different surfaces. We support those companies.
Awesome. So we worked together the end of last year, I think it was.
Uh-huh.
You were putting together a remodelers conference here in Kansas City, and we had been talking about shops like fabricator shops, smaller remodeling companies, and how a lot of times the business owner creates this bottleneck. It's not an intentional thing that they're doing, but they become sort of the bottleneck of their business. And so what we wanted to offer that the people at that conference was some ideas on how to get beyond the bottleneck. Share a little bit about when you were coming with that conversation, the experiences you were hearing and what was going on that that really solidified this for us.
I recently served on a board of directors for the remodeling industry here in Kansas City and worked in the remodeling industry for quite some time, both on the remodeling side and on the fabrication sides in a couple different facets. But what I find in some of the smaller businesses like remodeling companies or fabrication shops is the teams are not usually large, they're smaller. And so people have a lot of different responsibilities. And I was currently in a situation where I was brought on to be an integrator with a visionary and trying to work through that dynamic of being able to do my job in a way that I could operate and move forward with things, but needing that visionary on board as well. And some of the things we were finding, and I was hearing also in the industry, was that it's very common for people to want to own things and think they're the only ones that can do it, or just don't want to give it up to someone else because they started the business. It was theirs from the very beginning and it's their baby. And like to try and give that up to somebody else is hard. But when that happens, it creates a bottleneck, right? It stalls the process and it doesn't allow other people to do their jobs. When you will hire people on our team to be like, okay, we need somebody that's really good at this, at marketing or at or at the project manager or whatever it may be, but then we don't actually hand everything over to them, which creates that bottleneck where things can't get done because we won't allow it or provide the training or the tools to be able for other people to do the work. So that's kind of what brought that topic up, and it was well received at the conference this past fall.
Well, and just you reiterating what the pain points are, the idea that in smaller companies, because I think you and I are both similar in that, and that we land in these smaller growth companies, and
Mhm.
people are wearing multiple hats, and it's how flexible or how much are you willing to take the hats on and off? If you're like, "Oh, no, I want that hat, and I'm the only one that's gonna wear that really cool trucker hat." If you're the only one wearing that hat, you're actually gonna limit you're gonna slow down the whole business, and you're going
Mhm.
to limit opportunities for the business by
Mhm.
holding on to that hat.
Absolutely. From years ago, I worked for someone who had a great saying. She's like, when I'm in Hawaii, I need you guys all to be able to know what I know and do all the things I can do so that when I go to Hawaii, I can go and not have to worry about it. And that's the mindset to have. The mindset should not be, I have to own everything and I have to have my hands in everything. The mindset should be for growth, should be, I need my team to know everything. I need them to know what I know so that I can go to Hawaii or I can go on vacation, or what if I get sick, or what if something happens, an emergency, and I'm not available. And what I saw happening at the time was I was trying to proceed with doing work or trying to delegate, but the resources were stuck with this one person. They knew how to do this. They knew how to do that. They knew how to do this and this, but none of us knew how to do it, and we needed them to provide that. So it was creating a huge bottleneck. But that's me having that mindset of if I when I go to Hawaii or when I go to wherever your favorite place is, my team, your business should run without you, right? That should be the goal. You shouldn't have to be there every day, every second of the day. You should want your business to run without you, and that to me is a sign of growth and accomplishment for sure.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that because also, ugh, but the reality to get from this business is who I am and it is my baby and I care, like it is like the most important thing in my life. Shifting from that, I'm going to work to be somewhat detached. Like I want detachment from this. I
Mhm.
want to go somewhere else. I want the freedom to go to
Yeah.
Hawaii or build something new or
Yeah.
whatever. And I understand how that happens. I had coffee with a longtime business, connection, and his in-laws are in their 60s and have
Mhm.
this shop. They have a shop that they've built their whole life. This was their retirement. They have been building this and building this and building this. Now for them to make the shift into letting it go, you have to really want to make that shift.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard, right? It's not easy. And that what it's the common saying of you gotta work on your business, not always in your
Your
business.
business, yeah, yeah.
And I'm guilty of it too, man. I'm a like, let me get in there and just do it, right? I'll do it. But then I'm stuck in the weeds, and then I'm not up here looking high level and strategy so that for me to be there, for people to be at that higher level and look big picture and what else can the company or the business do, or how can we improve. We can't always be stuck in the weeds. We have to be able to teach and delegate and pass those on to people, and our team wants that, right? They
Mhm.
want to feel valued, and how to me most people feel valued when they're given more responsibility because they've been trusted with something. Now we can always get too much responsibility too. You have to be careful of that.
Yeah.
But, I think people like a challenge, that they wanna grow in general, and they feel more passionate about their job when they're involved in it and have an opportunity to make a difference in what's going on with the company.
I'm thinking back to, fall and that, remodeling conference and hearing from some companies that are doing it well. First of
Mhm,
all, really hiring people that they feel like they can trust,
mhm,
build and
yeah,
grow with, that they will be vulnerable enough to listen to and take the
mhm,
feedback. I think that is some of the first step is wanting to expand
Right.
beyond your business. The second
Mhm.
step is um, allowing yourself to bring in the people that will challenge you.
Mhm. Yeah. That's not always easy.
You and I are in the dating world, and I think we know you get into where you're like, I'm actually don't even realize the patterns I'm having about bringing in people that are just
Mhm.
I'm not willing to trust because I don't wanna let go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring in
Yep.
somebody that's not quite right because then that way I can keep my hands on it and keep the story going that nobody can do it
Yep.
like I do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it in my box and just yeah.
Strangle that thing to death, which is
Right.
which is I mean, this is sort of a side note, but it's something I think about a lot is this whole idea of I think they call it the silver tsunami about baby boomers and exiting their businesses and what that's gonna, how we're at the beginning
Yeah.
of that, I think.
Yeah.
And the reality that you can kill your own, like you can kill it that
Mhm.
way. And maybe that's
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But there's other option I mean, there's other ways to do it, like, if you want
Yes.
it to be a legacy business and move on without you.
Yeah, and we see that a lot with our industry with the fabrication shops. There's a lot of members in our association that are multi-generational. Parents that started the shop and now their kids are running it and stuff. So that's definitely very common and I think that's always a hard part and I've seen that even in my family with my dad running the farm and the crops and all the things and now my sister trying to take some of that over and it's things can be done differently, but there's that struggle that's hard part still of them letting go and and teaching and allowing somebody else to take it over. And I think that happens in any sort of family run business, right? Again, it's been their baby for so long. They've ran it a certain way that they have to be willing to let go, and again, teach and train so that more the company can develop and grow into something new or different or better or whatever. Like there's change is inevitable. And I think that too creates that again, can create that bottleneck. If you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to change, then you create that bottleneck too, because everything's always changing. In our industry, it's like every day there's something different, it feels like. So you have to be willing to be flexible and open to that.
What have you experienced or what advice would you have for the initial conversation? I mean, what do you think business owners have to be willing to put on the table to start that process of expanding beyond themselves? What's the conversation that starts it?
I think you kinda have to lay all the cards on the table of what you're owning. I think that's what I if I was to sit down with or if I was the owner and trying to decide, "Okay, what all am I owning?" Where like, drawing it all out, mapping it out, who's in charge of what falls under me, what falls under this person, that person, and if you find that the owner's list or the manager's list is a mile long and everybody else's list is a few things. I mean, that would be telling, right? I think you have to kind of map it out and then say, okay, let's start small. What are three things you're willing to give up and delegate? Nobody wants to just go cold turkey and just like, here, let's delegate it all. That would send somebody spiraling. You got to kind of wean them off, right? It's picking what are the options? What are some things you could start with? And as a person trying to help someone who is the bottleneck or is holding things back. It's providing solutions, maybe a couple solutions to things that they can decide which is better. Well, we could do this or this, knowing I'm okay with either solution, but I'm going to let them choose. So they still have some ownership in it, but I've created, okay, these are our options. Which way do you want me to go? It's your business, but so which direction, but let's try and keep it at these two. So then I know I'm happy with either solution but I'm giving them still ownership in where the business is going. So those are kind of think some initial things that I would start with.
I think that is so important. One of the things I hear in what you're saying is the slowing down long enough to be clear about what's going on.
Yeah.
What all are you holding on to? What have you let go of? Because I'm sure you've let go
Hmm.
of some things.
Yeah.
And what's keeping you holding on to these things? I love
Hmm.
also the from the other end, if we're the integrator or if we're come alongside a business owner that's trying to let go, like really not avoiding. I think sometimes you want to avoid getting entangled. Like if you're going to give it to me, I'm just going to go with it because I don't wanna slow down by that conversation, but the
Yeah.
trust that is built when you go
Mhm.
back to say, "Okay, I know this was hard for you to hand off, so let me involve you in it still
Yes.
in
Yes.
some way," and not take it personally if they're like, "I really don't like either one of those options,
Yeah.
and here's why." Perfect,
Yep.
because that's
Yep.
skill building, that's training.
Yes, yes. Talking through and because there's a reason that they have been successful and have
Right.
run this company or association for so long. There's a reason that they're in the position they're in, and we have to be respectful of that as the employee or the partner or whatever. Like, we all have different strengths, you know? And I think sometimes too, bringing in a third party, I mean, like with your services, like bringing a neutral person in that can look at everything too, because sometimes you're so in the weeds of things. And like you said, you can take things personal and having that neutral party look at things too can be helpful.
These small businesses are so important to the fabric
Yeah.
of our country. It really matters. Okay, so there is this internal bottleneck, and
Mhm.
that's what we've talked about is uh kind of that like that business owner really creating a bottleneck, not intentionally, but it happens. There are external barriers too, talking about the market
Mhm.
and the volatility excuse me, the volatility of the market and how much that affects our businesses. It is
Yeah.
really out of our control. Talk a little bit about the barriers outside of the business, what you see happening, the barriers outside of the business and how we move through that.
Yeah. There's so much that affects small businesses outside of what's happening in the four walls, whether it's political or it's taxing or tariffs. There's laws and regulations, and there's always something going on. And you have to be adaptable, right? You have to adapt. You can focus on the negative of it, and well, what if this and what if that, and if this happens and that happens, and in most cases, you're not going to be able to control the end result. So instead of focusing on how tough or rough or awful something is that you have to deal with, it's very likely this could happen, and this is how it's gonna affect our business. If there's increased tariffs or if a law is put in place for something and our taxes go up or housing costs are going up, so now we have to do a markup on our products, and now it's gonna cost more to the consumer. How can we approach that? How do we work that into whether it's our costs or it's our education to our client and for them to understand it? It's how do you adapt? As our association has continued to grow with the fabrication industry, there's a lot of stuff going on around worker safety and being exposed to silica dust. We're trying to help fabricators take action and create regulatory guidelines. We can't control right now what everybody's doing out there in these shops and whether they're following proper procedures. We can't go into each shop, right? But the goal is how can we affect the industry as a whole? How can we present rules and guidelines that we think each shop should run by and present that based off of what our fabricators are saying, like this is what a safe shop looks like. So we're taking a positive approach and saying, how can we make things better? How can we be better shops, be safer, keep our workers safe, sit here and complain and be frustrated with all this stuff happening? Or we could say, how can we make an impact? How can we help change this? How can we look at this in a positive way? And I think you have to adapt. You can't always control the situation, but how can you turn it or spin it to make it better for your company and present it in a positive way? And when you set that tone as a leader, your team will see that too. So if they see you as a leader being negative about it or having a bad attitude about things that are happening in the industry, it's going to trickle down all the way down to your sales team. And how do you think that's going to affect your sales? They're not
Right.
going to be motivated. If the housing industry costs of house and remodeling is so much more. And how am I going to sell this? And then it's a ripple effect, right? So you have to set it from the top up.
I always think about ourselves individually and then how it's mirrored in everything we do.
Mm.
I'm gonna go back to my red, yellow, green. Red,
Oh, yes.
underwater, overwhelmed. If you're operating your business in the red, eh, like emotionally, nervous system
Yes.
wise, your ability to be adaptable with the market is going to be very limited.
Yes.
You're not gonna be have the capacity to do what you're saying.
Hmm.
And so to me, what's really coming to me, Julie, is it's like the flexibility within the business helps everybody into this green place where we can be moving to like, what if? Let's think about what if this happens? What can we control internally if this happens? How do we
Yes.
prepare our customers for this? How do we communicate this in a way where it gives people choices, where we have choices, where,
Mhm.
how do we operate inside of our company with flexibility that doesn't keep people operating all dysregulated?
Yes.
So that then in the market, then we can be adaptable, we can be creative, we can um we can really think ahead and I was talking about school, and during COVID, I wanted to pull all my kids out of school.
Mm.
My kids are not learning what they need to learn to operate in a world that we're having like, ah. And so I think about that, but it starts so much inside of us individually and inside of our businesses that we feel like we're in it together. And I think
Absolutely.
about the mission that you have in your association of how do we create a foundation of support where we're in this together
Mhm.
and people can feel more regulated in themselves, and then they can deal with the regulations in the world. They have more capacity, more
Yeah.
resilience.
Well, and I think people are more creative and they're just your mind works better when you're in that green. When you're dysregulated and stressed and all the things and in the red, you're not thinking straight. And then again, your team's not. So when you're creating that environment of coming with a open mindset and thought process and adaptability, ideas flow better, thought processes flow better. People are more willing to share their ideas. Somebody may have a great idea about, hey, I know how we can get through this, but they're scared to say it because over here's operating in the red. It's your brain and everything just works better when you're operating in that green space.
You just mentioned the safety required inside of a company. Circling back to the bottleneck conversation, even if you don't mean to be, as a business owner, creating that bottleneck, one of the outcomes is this lack of safety. And it can look a number of ways, right? It can look like people not sharing really great ideas that they have. It can look like people burned out and overwhelmed. It can look like turnover. There's so many ways that this bottleneck looks that yeah, keeps your inside of your company so difficult. So then you respond to the outside world. I mean, you don't feel
Yeah.
like you have control of what's going on in your company. So
Hmm. So how are you
like
going to adapt to anything outside of it? Yeah.
do you have really no I mean, you can try to influence,
Yep.
but you aren't control of the outcome. There's a lot of
Right.
other things involved. We're both operationally minded, and so it's just simple next steps.
Hmm.
Very simple of just one thing I can do. That's why I love red, yellow, and green because I think just even acknowledging that is
Yeah.
so huge. I love what you're saying too about take time, just take a minute and get your
Hmm.
house in order. Like,
Yeah.
who's doing what? Is this, and if you put the red, yellow, green with that,
Hmm.
of stopping to say, let me see your list of duties, let me see, and what of this that we're doing is actually helping the business.
And what's stressing you out, right? What are you losing sleep over? What's causing your mind to continue? How can we help you with that? How can we take that off and move that? Again, that's I think a part of that can create a bottleneck is if somebody's has something on their plate that's just constantly stressing them out or keeping them up. Once you see it, again, seeing visual, I'm a visual person too. And it takes me if I can hear something, I can read something, I like to see some, but a lot of times it's visual. And I think a lot of people are like that when they visually see that written down, it provides clarity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard before that 70% of the population's visual.
Mm,
It's a lot
yeah.
of people.
That sounds about
Uh,
right. Yeah.
and I agree when you see it, and it's the unspoken stuff too. Once you put
Hmm.
it on the table, now we can you're not gonna have a fix right away. It's
Right.
not a one conversation thing, but if you just put it on the table, now we can begin to now we can do something about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's so interesting to me that as human beings, we have this tendency to like, if we're hobbling along, I had this analogy recently. You can have a pebble in your shoe and you're just gonna keep going.
Mm,
You'll walk your 5 miles and you'll walk it with a pebble in your shoe because 'cause you're like, "Well,
mhm.
I'll just get through it. I'm okay. It's fine." If you just stop and take the shoe off, it's
Right?
just put it on the table. Maybe that's one conversation.
Yeah.
Put it on the table, and then you're gonna come back to it. Let yourself come back to it.
Mhm.
Again, building resilience to some new things, but it makes a huge difference.
We tend to just keep trucking along, right? I've done it too. I just keep doing it. I keep taking it on and doing more, and then you're like, "What? Did I end up with all these things?" You just gotta pause, you gotta stop and reassess and work through
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
tell me, how can people find the association? Can they
Okay.
find you?
So ISFA now.org. ISFAnow.org. That's our website. And so that you can go there and check out what we all do. Again, we support fabricators through safety, education, advocacy work, all those types of things, networking, lots of opportunity to get involved if you're in the fabrication service industry. My email is julie@isfanow.org. I'm based here in Kansas City. But we're an international association. The best way to check us out is go to our website, and if you have a question specifically for me, you can email me.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. I
Aw.
always enjoy our time together.
You do too. Our guests bring such clarity and depth. If you want to explore more of their work, you'll find links in the show notes. And thank you, listener, for joining me on the Unspoken Edge, the place where we name what's missing so you can lead from what matters. If something resonated with you today, share this episode with a friend or a colleague. Leave a review or subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're navigating unseen tensions in your leadership or culture, let's connect. You'll find me at mosaiccollaborative.com, because legacy isn't a final chapter, it's what you live into, one conversation at a time.